My name is Betsy Koepke, and 6 years ago, I decided to transform my life. I was, at the time, a mother of two who was home part-time with my kids and working in the public schools as a psychologist, married, homeowner, weekend warrior, doing the thing in the hamster wheel, right? And I was feeling like this, burning out. I had hit a wall, and I decided, rather than keeping doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result, I was going to try this new thing called the life-changing magic of tidying up. Has anybody heard of it? Yes. Okay. Marie Kondo's process. She's got a show on Netflix now. You can check it out. And let me tell you, friends, this is how I feel about it. And as I'm doing my minimalistic talk that is usually 60 minutes, you're going to get to witness me minimize it into 15. So grab your handout and follow along. We're going to go quick. I'm going to give you my top 10 reasons to lead a more minimalistic lifestyle. So, number 1, how you do anything is how you do everything. So who will admit to stuffing things in their cupboards or stuffing things into the basement or into their closets? Come on now. All right, yes. And just kind of letting things go unconscious and piling up. Well, I've got some good news and some bad news for you. If how you do anything is how you do everything, you're doing that with other aspects of your life, right? Perhaps your relationships, perhaps your health, perhaps your finances. The good news is, because how you do anything is how you do everything, once you start creating movement and getting circulation in one part of your life, so once you start clearing the blocks, whether it's your stuff, whether it's your finances, whether it's your relationship, you're going to start getting circulation and clearing those blocks in other parts of your life too. Number 2, tidying is about much more than having a clean and organized space. Can anybody relate to doing a really great spring cleaning or even cleaning out your closet or a drawer and feeling good afterwards? Like, what is that feeling of, clarity or peacefulness or serenity or power that you get after doing that activity? Part of the KonMarie Method is you pick an area of your house. So for the kitchen here, you unearth everything and you put it all in one spot. Like, this is the deep, like, everything's coming out. All the wedding gifts we got that we just shoved back and never used, it's all coming out. And you take a full inventory of everything you've got and you get rid of the stuff that you no longer need, that's no longer serving you. And you only keep the stuff that's still relevant and sparking joy. So can you imagine the feeling? It's like spring cleaning on steroids. It's way more than just getting rid of the physical stuff. It's creating that sense of clarity and empowerment and just inspiration and sparking joy. Number 3, you learn about yourself. So as you're going through your own clothes, which is actually the first part of the process, you're asking yourself the question, you're holding onto each of your items of clothing, and you're asking yourself the question, does this spark joy? Does this spark joy for me? Not for my kids, not for my spouse, not for my boss, not for my coworkers, not for anybody else. Does this spark joy for me? That's a pretty powerful question. And guess what? Think about how many items of clothing you have. Every item of clothing you do this for. So you ask yourself this hundreds of times. So that repetition builds in this, does this spark joy for me? Why do I have this stuff? And what I found as I went through my closet was, in fact, most of the stuff in there was not sparking joy. It was sparking other feelings like guilt, because I bought this on retail therapy day. And I haven't worn it since. Or a sense of unworthiness. Like, what is going on? I'm just taking in my older sister's hand-me-downs. And friends who don't want stuff, I'm taking in their stuff. Like, I'm not worth getting my own, decent stuff. And heaviness, because I realized how I was doing anything was how I was doing everything. So I was not only taking in other people's unwanted belongings, I was taking in their unwanted emotional crap too. Lovely. So that in itself was empowering. And as I did my own stuff, as I did me, I began to look around other areas of my home. And as much as I love my dear husband, Tyler, he's a bit of a pack rat. And this was him in our bathroom, our master bathroom, and I realized his clothes monster had, we nicely called it the clothes monster, but it was like seeping into our master bathroom. It was seeping into our bedroom, and quite frankly, folks, it's seeping into our romantic and sex life. Okay, this is what our bedroom is looking like. And I decided, I know what that impact of me going through my own stuff was. I want that feeling of clarity and empowerment and joy in my marriage. And granted, Tyler was not super excited about this at first, and we broke through those blocks and barriers and fears and hesitation, and we moved him into his own closet downstairs. And this is what this was his process down there. And then once he got on board with doing the full-on tidying process, he realized he really liked having a clean and tidy closet, and he really liked clothes and shoes and taking pride in them. And then an unintended impact was that as we both realized we liked living this way, we began to tidy the other areas and minimize the other areas of our home together. And because how you do anything is how you do everything, in that process, we were also cleansing and tidying those aspects of our marriage that we had just shoved in the corner and just stuffed and just kept piling on, right? Because we got 2 kids. Like, it happens. This stuff just goes unconscious, and you just don't make time for it. And so we started to do our marriage. And in that process, he came online, and we created a course and started working with couples to do that together. Number 5, you can teach your kids this skill. So once we had adopted this lifestyle for ourselves and we're getting to see the benefits of it, our daughter, Ayla, decided she does actually like her room more like this than like this. Yeah, she was developing major pack rat habits. And we realized that once we had the room, she didn't have that much stuff to sort through and that many decisions to make all the time, she actually spent more time in her room playing and being creative. And now here's where I stop and say, like any change, like any transformation, this is not an event, this is a process. It takes time, especially, you're doing you, then you're doing, possibly your spouse's area with them, then moving it into the kids. And so when I was sitting down to color with my kids, I made myself this visual and I hung it in the dining room that just be patient, like this is a process, this is a marathon, not a sprint. It takes time. And like anything else we're doing, persistence paid off. As we do the deep cleaning and the tidying and the minimizing with my son, he actually reports feeling like I feel better afterwards. I feel better in this space. And we're teaching them and giving them the experience and modeling to live a lifestyle and value a lifestyle with less. And as we do this, as we minimize more and more of the spaces in our house, we realize we never had a home base for our keys. We didn't have a home base for our shoes. So we would be, yelling at our kids, like, put this away, put your stuff away, but we didn't have a place to tell them where to put it. So once we all have our home base, there's that much more clarity. Our transitions weren't nearly as frustrating. We weren't, nagging on our kids as much. And suddenly it feels like we've gained more time together as a family, more quality time, more joyful time. And as I keep moving these objects out of our living space, and I have less to think through and sort through and less decisions to make, like, where does this go? Where does this go? What am I going to do with this? I'm realizing I'm not only creating more space, I'm creating more time. And how great would it be to have more time? Like, who would benefit from more time right now? And as we continued with the process, we also realized, like, we started to feel like we had double the square footage of our home, just with how much stuff we got rid of. Number 6, you learn to let go. So many of us are stuck in these like clinging, patterns of scarcity mindset. This really teaches you, again, because it's that repetitive, like, does this spark joy anymore? And just if it doesn't, just let it go. Something else will come in that you need or want. This thing has served. It's okay to let it go. And when you start doing that with your physical belongings, you also can do that with thoughts that aren't serving you anymore, that aren't sparking joy. You can do that with people, relationships. If it doesn't spark joy anymore, why am I doing this? I have this much time on the planet. Why am I doing this? Number 7, it sparks joy, for goodness sakes. What's left, the material belongings that you have left after you go through this process, they're the things that spark joy. So now I go to put my clothes on, and the stuff in my closet, all that's left is what sparks joy. I go to put jewelry on, it's only the stuff I love. That's the environment I'm creating for myself. And then when I go for a walk, I notice I start to notice the other things that spark joy. I notice the people that spark joy. It just activates the reticular activating system in your mind of sparking joy. Number 8, it saves money. So if you invest the time and energy to do a deep dive to minimize your lifestyle, let me tell you something, you ain't going back. This is one of those things where you don't go back. And so you're much more mindful, rather than just being an unconscious consumer and filling the voids with stuff. You're much more mindful of what you're investing your money on in terms of physical belongings, to the point where we were then able to invest money into an experience that creates and cultivates more joy as a family. Number 9, it allows you to be good to the planet and more conscious and aware. So the first picture there is one load of stuff that we took to a recycling event. And I'm now the geek in my neighborhood who knows when all the recycling events are and lets everybody know, because it was somewhat mind-boggling how much stuff we had and how much stuff we needed to dispose of as we unearthed that stuff. But now it kind of feels gross, the first time as you're unearthing. And you need to be mindful of how you're just, recycling and getting rid of the waste. And it makes me much more conscious of how I want to be moving forward as a human and as a consumer. Number 10, the contagion effect. So, this started with me deciding this for myself. It then, moved into my relationship with my husband and into my family. And now people come to our house and they like the feeling of being in our house. They want that look and feel of what it's like to be in our lifestyle. And so I have people now send me pictures of the stuff that they're discarding and feeling good about it because they're creating that circulation and that movement. So, and that's the thing, is circulation is the key to living a fulfilling and a life of vitality. So I don't care where you start. I don't care if you start with the physical piece or the tidying of your financial piece. We have Anne to help us with that. We have Dee Dee to help us with this physical piece. If you want support with the relational piece, come see me. Just start somewhere. Thank you.